Municipal Council to order at 6 o'clock. Please join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would entertain a motion to recess so we can go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now recessed and we'll be heading into the annex. I will invite our city solicitor, our attorney, insurance attorney, the building inspector, the mayor, city clerk, all of you, as well as the mayor. Okay.
Veterans and Human Services Committee to order at, what time is it? It is 6:53. We have several people coming in tonight. Is Emma here? Emma?
Hello.
How do you say your last name?
Yay.
Yay. Thank you, Emma. Yay. So Emma is here for the planning board, and we're running unfortunately very late, so I really apologize. So, excuse me, everybody, if I could have a little bit of quiet now. Thank you. We're a little bit shorter on time, but give us your name and your address, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Emma Yeh. I live at 9 Leroy Street. And yes, I applied for the position on the planning board. I'm a recent transplant to the area, having lived in Pennsylvania for most of my life, apart from college. Yes, I worked as municipal engineer for the last 7 years. In Pennsylvania, I represented I think 5 different boroughs and towns as their municipal engineer, attending planning board meetings every month on their behalf, reviewing plans for them. And I think that I have the technical background for this position.
So how long have you been in Attleboro now?
Since August.
All right, and obviously you come with a lot of experience in the planning board already, so that's great. Any questions, councilors?
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what is it about Attleboro that makes you want to take this position?
Well, I mean, it's my new home. So, I just want to, if I have a skill set that can be valuable, I feel like I should use that for my community. Just, understanding the ordinances and different planning and zoning challenges that are going on pretty much throughout the country right now.
Councilor Tavares?
And could I ask a follow-up question there? Do you mind elaborating on some of the planning or zoning challenges that you see potentially in Attleboro?
Well, I think the big one in Massachusetts is affordable housing. So just how to do that smartly, the right place to put them, any updates for the comprehensive plan for where that makes sense. Parking regulations, I know, are another big ticket, or controversial could be, but that's on the national conversations on if we should have parking minimums or maximums for each unit and what kind of effect that has on downtowns and communities as a whole. So that is something that I've been following in the news, just kind of to see how that stuff plays out.
All right, great. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Emma, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll be voting on this today in council and in committee, committee and council, and then you'll be probably getting a letter in the mail, or possibly, I think it's going to be a letter in the mail. Okay?
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much. Next, Terry McFarland. Terry is applying for the Sustainability Commission.
Correct, yes.
And your name and address, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Terry McFarland. I live at 6 Abbey Lane. And I think you would want me in your email to read at least what I had written on the application.
Yeah, you can.
Well, I could say I also sent my resume in, but what I wrote is why I want to be considered for this. So I'm in my late 50s and have decided to stop working due to long commutes. I would love to get back to the community. Volunteering is important to me. I spent many years volunteering at my kids' schools, and now I'd like to volunteer for programs that are important to me. So, background, my resume, I'm accounting and bookkeeping. I've been the secretary of the PTO when my son was at Thatcher. I was the treasurer of the PTO. I've been a room mom. I've been an assistant soccer coach. My husband, daughter, and I volunteered for Keep Attleboro Beautiful last year in April. So it just, this commission, when I saw it on Twitter, just kind of resonated, because I feel like we've kind of let our kids' generations down, and it's time to kind of pick up the game, I guess, and everyone help out with what we can do to make Attleboro a little more sustainable.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any questions, comments?
No, I'm all set.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Terry. And as we were just saying to Emma that We're going to vote on it in committee and council, and then you'll be hearing to come down and get appointed.
Okay, great.
Great,
Thank you so
very
much.
Kimberly Dean? Is Kimberly here tonight?
No, she's coming next month. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She's unable to attend tonight. She's out of state. She'll
Oh,
be here
okay.
next month.
All right, next month. All right. All right. Okay. On the docket of February 20th, 2024, entertain a motion to approve the body, the following reappointments to positions for terms as indicated. Nancy McGuire Heath, Board of Assessors, 3 years, February 2027. Cynthia Lawrence, Board of Library Trustees, 3 years, February 2027. David Pierce, Board of Library Trustees, 3 years, February 27. Mahesh Patel, Board of Library Trustees, 3 year, February 2027. Frederick Garapi, Board of Park Commissioners, 5 year, February 2029. Leo Johnson, Board of Recreation Commissioners, 3 years, February 2027. Christina Rogers, Board of Recreation Commissioners, 3 years, February 2027. Martha Connie, Board of Trust Fund Commissioners, 3 years, February 2027. Edward Stanton, Cable Advisory Commission, 1 year, February 2025. Kevin Smith, Cable Advisory Commission, 1 year, February 2025. James Jones, Cable Advisory Commission, 1 year, February 2025. Dominic Katoya, Cable Advisory Commission, 1 year, February 2025. Rose McConney, Conservation Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Terrence McCrossan, Constable, 1 year, February 2025. Ben Keane III, Constable, 1 year, February 2025. Stephen LeMay, Constable, 1 year, February 2025. Ian Daly, Constable, 1 year, February 2025. Leo Johnson, Constable, 1 year, February 2025. Marion Aspinall, Consul and Agent, 4 years, February 2028. Juliet Texera, Consul and Agent, 4 years, February 2028. Barbara Clark, Consul on Human Rights, 3 years, February 2027. Marcia Sweeney, Consul on Human Rights, 3 years, February 2027. Patricia Belfield, Consul on Human Rights, 3 years, February 2027. Greg Withers, Counsel on Substance Abuse Prevention, 3 years, February 2027. Errol Ford, Cultural Counsel, 3 years, February 2027. Jennifer Keating Roca, Cultural Counsel, 3 years, February 2027. Ann Kingman, Cultural Council, 3 years, February 2027. Jessica Lee Jones, Disability Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Lee Ann Bellew, Disability Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Aretha Weedbrook Still, Disability Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Marion Rithington, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Brian Lidwood, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 27. Rachel Killian, Historical Commission, 3 years, February 27. Diane Mangiarotti, Historical Commission, alternate member, 3 years, February 27. Kevin Smith, Historical Commission, alternate member, 3 years, February 27. David Wood, Licensing Board, 6 years, February 2030. John Jacoby III, Municipal Building Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Jacqueline Romanicki, Municipal Building Commission, 3 years, February 27. Terry DeSisto, Municipal Building Commission, 3 years, February 27. John Davis, Planning Board, 5 years, February 2029. Ben Keane III, Redevelopment Authority, 5 years, February 2029. Rick Rathburn, Traffic Study Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Bill Gill, Traffic Study Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Shane Mukasa, Youth Commission, 3 years, February 2027. Kent Richards, Zoning Board of Appeals, 3 years, February 2027. John Camara, Zoning Board of Appeals Associate, 2 years, February 2026. LeBon O'Brien, Alternate Inspector of Iron, 1 year, February 2025. Peter Mello, City Solicitor, 1 year, February 2025. Dorothy Brissett, Community Development Director, 2 year, February 26. Ben Quall, Director of Veteran Services, Agent, Burial Agent, 2 years, February 26. Jeffrey Kiefer, Animal Control Officer, 1 year, February 25. Carolyn Eaton, Animal Control Officer, 1 year, February 2025. Darlene Christensen, Animal Control Officer, 1 year, February 2025. Scarlett Chance, Fire Warden, 1 year, February 25. Christopher Quinn, Health Officer, 1 year, February 25. William McDonough, Inspector of Building and City Facilities Manager, 3 year, February 2027. William McDonough, Mechanical Inspector, 3 years, February 2027. Kyle Hegney, Lockup Keeper, 1 year, February 25. Catherine Rigo, Parking Administrator, 1 year, February 25. Thomas Hayes, Superintendent of Wastewater, 3 years, February 27. Courtney Allen, Superintendent of Water, 3 years, February 27.
Second.
I need to make a friendly amendment. And we have 2 people on there. We'll vote on the friendly amendment. Barbara Clark is not going to re-up for Council on Human Rights, and Bill Gill is not going to re-up for Traffic Study Commission. If I can get a second on the friendly amendment.
Second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now I'd like to, as amended, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Emma Ye of 9 Leroy Street, Attleboro, to fill in an expired term on the planning board, term to expire February 2029.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, concerns? Now, we just heard about Emma, and so I think this is going to be a great fit. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. All right. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Terry McFarland of 6 Abbey Lane, Attleboro, to fill a 3-year term on the Sustainability Commission, term to expire February 2027.
Second.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, concerns? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. All right, from the docket of February 20th, 2024, I entertain a motion to approve the receipt of the Bristol Elder Service Grant in the amount of $10,956 to be used for the outreach worker program at the Council on Aging, and improve expending of such funds in any future grant amendments.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Just that I think it's one of the more important positions that we have in the city, working with seniors.
Absolutely. I
You know?
couldn't agree with you more. All right, any other comments or concerns? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 3-0. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, entertain a motion to transfer $5,580 from account 112410000-578300, citywide reserve fund, for transfer to account 121010000-530101, police professional services.
Second.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of the Election Commission and Deputy Chief Timothy Cook of the Attleboro Police Department for the number of officers needed to staff Attleboro's polling locations. It is requested that the municipal council approve this recommendation for all elections.
Point of order.
That's
So-
not
Yeah,
in
this is
mine.
actually.
It's an election,
I think you're right, yep, okay.
It was voted out last week,
All right,
correct?
all right.
Thank you.
That's what happens when I don't show up.
It's all right, no worries.
All right, that being said, I call for adjournment at 7:06.
Second.
Thank you, sir. We are adjourned at 7:06. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting of the municipal council back to order at 7:06 PM. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes of February 6, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Good evening, Madam Clerk.
Good evening.
Would you please go into the reading of the first, notice for the first of 3 public hearings this evening?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Public hearing regarding a proposed amendment to city ordinances by adding the following: 2-22 Diversity Committee, 2-22.1 Organization. There is hereby established within the municipal government an unpaid diversity committees consisting of 7 to 9 members appointed by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the municipal council. Each member shall be a resident of the city of Attleboro, and insofar as is practical, membership shall be diverse in race, ethnicity, country of birth, age, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, religion, and socioeconomic status. Members shall serve for a term of 2 years, with the terms of 2 members to expire each year, provided that the first 3 members appointed shall be appointed for 1 year, so as to provide for staggered terms. Members of the Diversity Committee shall, upon its organization and annually thereafter, elect a chair and secretary. Entire proposal available at the City Council office or by email, council@cityofattleboro.us.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak in favor?
Yeah, they're behind the screen.
Anyone who would like to speak in favor, please approach the podium. And I will remind councilors that public hearings, therefore clarifying questions, there'll be time to debate the merits one way or another during committee. Good evening. If we could have your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Walter Vivar. I live at 7 Franklin Street. Norton. No, that's Attleboro. Sorry. All right. So I've been a resident of Attleboro for about over 40 years. As you can see, I was born in another country. It's been at times tough to deal with the local government when trying to get something for the Hispanic community. And I've been doing that for 15, 20 years. Really tough every time I approach. And when I heard that this committee was going to take place, I said to myself, well, it's about time. Since Attleboro has been diverse for a long time. It didn't just happen, right? I remember in the 1970s, the first people from Guatemala, which is where I was born, were living and working here in Attleboro. I got to say that it is very difficult for any group of people that come into a new place and try to establish themselves, try to become part of the culture when there is no buttons to push to get things better for them. And that's the case for the Hispanic community. You know, people do make it on their own, but the community at large does not. So we really need something like this in the city to help us grow with everyone. We want to be a part of the community. We are a part of the community. We are your plumbers, your roofers, your landscapers. We've been here. Now it's time to get a little more. Since we put in a lot, we want something in return, which is a little piece of the pie. So please consider that this is a good thing. So,
Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delacio. Thanks, Walter. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Probably full disclosure, I've been friends for probably 30 plus years, so
Yes.
probably longer.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is going to be a committee that you're going to be a part of, going to get on it?
I could be. You know, it's not up to me, right? I have to be appointed.
Yeah.
But I could be. I would love to. I mean, I've been pushing for my community for, again, like 20 years, trying to get things for the people, and sometimes successfully, most of the time not. So I have approached a lot of people within government and gotten very little in return. So a committee like this will help us, not just me, right? Not just Hispanics, people of color in general, right? We need to be a part of it, and this is a good start. However, we've been here for a long time, you know, so we need to have a little more than just what we've been able to scratch. So that's my spiel. Thank you.
No, thank you. Do we
Appreciate
have Mr. Councilor Tavares?
I just had one follow-up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Sure.
And I can definitely identify as Cape Verdean,
Yep.
second or first generation American.
Sure.
You know, my parents came from the Cape Verde Islands, and they've lived over 30 years here in Attleboro. It's where I grew up. So I can definitely identify, you know, with coming from a different background. One of my questions for you is, you mentioned over your many years here in Attleboro, you've run into some challenges with city government.
Yes.
Would you be able to give any examples that you're comfortable with, or
Well,
elaborate on that?
you know, I could, but the only problem with that is that I don't really want to throw anyone under the bus. The people who know me here, they've known my fight, not just my fight, but the people's fight. And so I don't want to drag anybody's name in the dirt. There's been challenges. That's as far as I can go with that. And do we have your vote? Right?
Well, I'm here to hear from the public. So
Oh, come on.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. If you could give your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Hello, my name is Tanya Oliveira. I live at 623 Pleasant Street in Attleboro. I have been living in Attleboro for 5 years. This year makes year 5. And So coming to you guys today is, this is it feels like a good moment because I am also on 2 boards. As you guys know, that the last time I was in front of you guys, I was asking if it would, get approved to be on the board, and I am on those boards now. And I too believe that this would be a great addition to Attleboro because there is a lack of representation for the Black and Brown community. And when I decided to be on these boards, that was one of my main focuses, as I said to all of you, that I wanted to be a voice and represent the Black and Brown community, and the being able to be in the spaces that those same individuals don't feel as though they can go to because they don't see many people that look like them in those spaces. And if they've seen people that looked like them that they can identify with in spaces that can open up different opportunities for them within their communities, they'll be more likely to come out, feel more comfortable speaking to the council or anyone inside of this building about issues that they have, questions that they may have, new initiatives and thoughts, because there are several different ideas that people do have within the community to make it grow and make it better. But if you don't know who to go to, you're not going to be able to do that. So that was my goal with being on the 2 committees, was to be able to be a voice for the people that aren't being heard or seen. And I feel as though if the diversity committee was an addition to Attleboro, it would also help it to grow. Outside of that, I am also on the cultural district committee, and I also help with that to try to bring in more tourism as the years progress, because this is where I have planted my feet, and I want to be able to know that I'm not only represented because I'm in it, but that whoever else, that the community also feels that same way. So I think that this would be a great idea to have this additional committee, to be able to have individuals come to them, for them to be able to speak about the things that they want to see in the city that would be beneficial for the Black and Brown community as well.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Tanya, thank you very much. Mr. Lavoy.
Thank you. I know you mentioned being on a couple different committees. I actually was in the audience at that point in time. So it's kind of would go for everybody, but I'll just target it to you. Would be, how do you see this committee coming to life? Is it for you more of almost like a telephone to the elected officials for those that fall under, the diverse committee? So I know we have multiple different committees kind of throughout the city that do different things. So is this more on a legislative matter, or just kind of equal representation within government through the body, things like that? Or?
So I do believe that there is the Human Rights Committee, which that's what people should be going to in order to speak about any injustices within the community that are happening daily. They should be going to the Human Rights Committee, and then they can outreach in that way. For the Diversity Committee, I think that it should be a multitude of different things. There could be, being able to, not just events, because everything isn't a party all the time, right? But there should be a place where they feel like, okay, I can go talk to, not me, because I'm already on 2 boards. So if this goes forward, unfortunately, I won't be able to join. But I am still being a face within the city and doing different things throughout different avenues. I'm still making it known that I'm here to kind of be a voice for those that might feel unseen. So I don't know if it needs to go in that direction, because there is other committees that are more focused for that. This should be somewhere where people can come in to get resources that they need, that they don't know how to get to, small businesses, how the city a couple years ago, they had the small business initiative, and I mean, if I had known about it, I would have joined as well and tried to build my own business within the city. So just things like that. I don't know exactly what the outline should be, but I think it would still be a great idea.
Thank you.
Mr. Angelo?
Well, thanks, President Lucio. Actually, she kind of answered my question.
Very
'cause
good.
It was
You're
going to
popular,
be,
Tanya.
are you gonna get on, even though you had two going on, we already answered that.
Yeah.
But I still have a feeling that you're still going to be a voice to be heard, so.
I will be all around. I plan on collaborating with the diversity committee. Also, I am in works of collaborating in different ways with the human rights committee. I'm planting my feet firmly, with cement almost within the city to do different things. So, yeah, I really do hope that this does get approved and it moves forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephanie Elliott of 60 Brownell Street, and I am the chair of the Attleboro Council on Human Rights. I come before you tonight on behalf of the council in favor of the mayor's proposed ordinance for a diversity committee. Mayor DeSimone approached our council several months ago with the concept, at which time we debated whether the work of the diversity committee could be absorbed within the mandate of the ACHR, or whether it warranted its own committee. Through those discussions and a review of the ordinance before it was sent down to your honorable body, we ultimately supported the proposed ordinance for several reasons. Throughout the years since the Attleboro Council on Human Rights was reestablished, we have participated in many community conversations relating to diversity. As a result of those conversations, we frequently come back with the same impression that many of people of color report not feeling as though they are truly a part of our community. Given the reported trends that Attleboro's population is becoming increasingly more diverse, we agree with Mayor DeSimone that a proactive approach should be taken to investigate the barriers that minority populations feel to engaging with the greater Attleboro community. We believe that as a city, Attleboro should create a space specifically for individuals with diverse backgrounds to provide recommendations for building relationships with all residents of Attleboro, particularly those who have felt isolated for so long. A diversity committee can serve as a bridge between the people of underrepresented communities and the city in which they reside. It is vital for all people to feel connected to the place they live and work, and having community leaders who look like them and have lived similar experiences is crucial to creating a space in which all residents feel truly welcome. Surrounding boroughs, such as Mansfield, Canton, and Taunton, each have some kind of committee or network devoted to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The creation of the Diversity Committee in Attleboro can also provide an opportunity for more of its citizens to pursue being in public service and becoming a part of making our city a welcome and inclusive place to live. The ACHR anticipates that there will be some overlap between our two committees, much like there is overlap between our council and the Commission on Disabilities. We often collaborate with the Disability Commission to host events and support like causes, but the work of the two committees differs considerably. The ACHR will be glad to collaborate with the Diversity Committee when opportunities arise, and we also look forward to, through the creation of a freestanding Diversity Committee, specifically focused on a proactive approach to building relationships with diverse populations, the closing of a critical gap in community relations. Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Evening.
Good evening, Chair and members of the council. My name is Patricia Belfield, and I have lived in Attleboro for 8 years. And I've grown to really love Attleboro, and hopefully it'll become my home someday. Before I start, I would like to first start out with a disclosure. Because I am a member of the Human Rights Council, I have to provide a disclosure because I'm representing myself today as a private citizen. I am a private citizen representing myself today. In order to properly convey this ordinance today, I am not permitted to speak on behalf of the Human Rights Council nor to represent the council. I've been a human rights member for almost 2 years and was recently reappointed for an additional 2 years. So I would like to express my gratitude to the council for enabling me to carry out the volunteer work that my colleagues and I began. To begin with, let me express my gratitude to Mayor DeSimone for bringing the diverse community ordinance to your attention today. I want to thank the mayor for giving me an opportunity to speak with her in private. I think we are off to a great start anytime a mayor takes time out of her schedule for a private conversation and make revisions when needed. However, at this time, I am not in favor or against this ordinance. I'm here to share my concerns and offer my advice based on my experience in order for the council to hear about my experience as a minority company owner. I choose to represent myself as a private citizen today. Reaching out to the city community development, reaching out to the city community development department has proven to be difficult and disappointing when attempting to obtain community data, low interest rate loans, and local grants. Getting information in a timely manner is essential because Black and brown communities frequently confront numerous obstacles and disparities regarding equitable pay, housing, employment, and business grants and loans. According to an article named A Look at Black-Owned Businesses in the USA, dated September 2023, Pew Research Center discovered that Black-owned businesses have grown significantly in the U.S. However, in recent years, they still make up a small share of overall firms' revenue, according to the federal data. Also, according to the Small Business Credit Survey, found that more than a quarter of all startups are owned by people of color, yet data shows that firms owned by people of color are less likely to be approved and funded. So today, what I'd like you guys to kind of get an idea of how it is to be a minority business and trying to navigate the system to try to get information for like grants or low interest loans. As a minority owner, when you're trying to get when you apply for a contract, the stipulations sometimes are so high that you're not able to compete. So like you must have tax returns for like 3 years, 5 to 10 employees, been in business for 3 years, must have collateral, and at least have 10% of a down payment or a collateral for residential, commercial, and real estate. Most Black and brown businesses are micro businesses, so we don't get to qualify for a lot of the funding that comes down. Now, I know that Caucasian women are also considered minorities, but here's what happens. When you fill out the application, as I just explained about the different stipulations, you already at advantage of not being able to get the contract. So then that would leave the minority Caucasian woman more likely to get those contracts. Then also there was a survey that also stated that Blacks receive 1% of those contracts. In those 1% of those contracts, you're probably looking at the Black elite, meaning the Blacks who can afford to compete. So that's that 1%. So people like myself are left out. It's not also what I've learned by living in Attleboro. It's not just me as an African-American woman. White women, Caucasian women face the same issues who are low income. I've talked to this other Caucasian women that have business in the area, and they are struggling because they can't get funding as well. So we have to get it right. So my thing is, I think that we should come up with something like a tier system. So like tier 1 would be for under $500,000 with the minimum requirement and can where you can be able to apply for funding. So if that's a small micro loan, then it will take away a lot of the stipulations, and then we would be able to compete. Then the second tier would be for people who make 800,000. But the problem is also with the people that are making 8,000, they keep coming back and getting funding over and over again. So the same person is getting funded. And then they'll have you, if we get funding, we get like 2,500 or 5,000 funding. And then when we try to apply for the bigger funding, then we're not qualified because we already took that grant at 5,000. Also, another thing I want to talk about in regards to the diversity. The diversity committee, according to the ordinance, is asking that the diversity committee be for 2 years. The other committees, the disability community, the cultural committee, everyone else is 2 years and have to be appointed by the mayor and council. Why would our board have to switch off our chair if no one else is doing that? So to me, that is just not logic, and it doesn't make sense if we're really trying to be inclusive. Now, I will say this. I most definitely agree that we need a diversity board here. I'm not saying that we don't, but I'm saying that we cannot continue to function the way we are because then we don't need a board. We need a board that's going to be ready to take on policies, because a lot of times policies permit, which I'm sure you guys know, policy permits us from doing certain things. So if this board is not going to be about changing policies and reaching out to the Black community, we're going to have a problem. Last thing I want to say is that also I'm finding I took it upon myself to knock on the doors here in Attleboro to the Black and brown business owners and minority businesses, and ask them, how do you feel about Attleboro? So what I'm finding is that a lot of the Black and brown communities are moving their business to Emerald Mall. If you've ever been to Emerald Mall during the day, you know that mall is dead on arrival. So I'm not sure. Right. So I'm not sure how they're going to be able to function. Now, a lot of them are saying they only have a 1 year's lease. But if you have a 1 year's lease and you're palling a whole bunch of Black and brown communities in there for a year until you decide you want to turn it around in condos, then where all those Black and brown businesses are going to go? And now the other thing, Black women are the most educated women according to statistics today. So we know how to run our businesses. We just need a little bit of grace and opportunity.
Do we have any questions? Mr. Tavares.
Thank you for coming out, Patricia.
Thank you.
Just had a couple questions, and you may have answered this earlier, and I may have missed it, but you first talked about some informational challenges, getting information from. Were you referring to a specific city department?
Yes. I said the community development department has been very difficult with getting information, taking 2 months to get back to you, only giving you a little bit of information at a time. It just doesn't work. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because another thing is when you come here to City Hall and you can see from the front, if you look through the door that's to the back, that's where the diversity board is, where you get your grants. So if you're coming in here on a daily basis, no one is turning that corner and going to the back because they don't know it exists back there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry,
thank you.
because I can go in tangents.
Yeah, no, thank you. And just a follow-up question, if I might. The grant criteria that you mentioned earlier, that you went through with with some deep analysis, are those grants that are issued by the state, or were you referring?
No, just in general. So what I did was I just took different pieces from different applications and saw that, okay, this could be a barrier, this could be a barrier. So it wasn't like one group that was lumped into one.
Okay.
No.
But that's not necessarily criteria for city-issued grants or city-controlled.
It could be. It depends. It depends on what the requirements are and who you are as a minority business. So it depends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Sawyer.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Laura.
I just had a question about the diversity committee. Would that help to take back some of those barriers that you're speaking about, and where you're speaking on all of these things that you've had issues with? Would that help?
Only if they're willing to change policy.
See.
Okay.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Just a reminder too that we're currently in those in favor of. Next will be those neither for nor against. Those against. Then we'll end with those who are neither for nor against.
Hi, I'm Judith Gale, and I'm at 7 Cameron Way. So I didn't come prepared to speak. Of course, I know little about this process, but if I have to go, then I have to go, and I'm in favor of it. And the reason I'm in favor of it is, well, first of all, congratulations on having a very diverse, quote unquote, not fully, but a board here, right? But then
Can you speak into the microphone?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
All right, so as I look on the wall and the pictures that we see, that's not Attleboro anymore, and we're happy about that. This more looks like Attleboro, and I'm very happy about that. When I think about the Diversity Council, I think about having a seat at the table, having an advocate, not just for me as a black person, but for all minorities. Every single one. We need to have representation. We need to have the people of Attleboro who are leading to look like the people who live here. I would love to see this diversity committee get data on the population of Attleboro. Who are we serving? And so once we have data, we can now have a voice to say what kind of programs we should have, right? Because maybe the stats you're looking at is old, right? And we have more Spanish, we have more black. Are we preparing for that generation? And as we look at what the past history is of our population, how do we plan for the next few years? How do we make sure that the programs that we're doing winter, whatever we had Saturday night, do we have enough kids? How many diverse kids do we have? What are the programs we should be planning for? And I think this is what the Diversity Council should do, right? She alluded to policies. I think that's another role of the Diversity Council, to advocate for policy changes that will represent the people. That's how I see a Diversity Council, and I'm fully in support of it. And I know someone on Facebook said to this post, they said, why do we need one? Why are we creating one? Well, D&I has become an issue now, which I'm not sure why, but it is an issue, right? It's an issue that we shouldn't try to have diverse committees. And I think that's wrong. Maybe we have to change the name so that everyone can get it. We need to have a system that works for everyone. It's working great for some, not so much great. It can work, but if we don't have the data, we cannot do it. I'm sure you guys have the best intention to do what's best for the community, but in order to do that, you need the data to do that. And I think this committee, that should be one of their goals, to understand what's the population of Attleboro, what's the composition, and how we can approach it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you for coming out tonight. Anyone else to speak in favor?
In favor. Hi, Chris Fitzpatrick, 5 Franklin Street. Well, those are tough acts to follow. What the Human Rights Commission representative said, I think, speaks to a lot of what really is the essence of it. And what the lady that just spoke also speaks to that. I grew up in Attleboro, moved away from Attleboro, and I'm back in Attleboro. It's changed a lot. This is not the town or city that I grew up in. It's far more diverse. And yet at the same time, I don't see diversity. Walter is my next door neighbor, 7 Franklin Street. I think you can put that together. Let me know about this. And I said, there's no diversity committee? And I don't think the question is, why should we have one? I think the question is, why wouldn't you have one at this point? The city is extremely diverse at this point, and they believe that all of these different communities need representation. And just the exchange of ideas by having a committee like this, I think, is extremely beneficial for the entire city. I think some of the barriers that the folks have mentioned here are real and are a concern. And to have a committee where a group of people that are diverse can get together and maybe exchange ideas, speak about it, and then present a plan that to whatever other committee that they might have an issue with or they're asked to give insight to, would be a fantastic thing. So in that sense, I am in full support of this. And that's
Any
it.
questions? Mr. Waterman, then Mr. Angelo.
Having worked in the inner city in Boston most of my working career, I certainly think this is a very important way to go in our city. I have an interesting question to me. By saying diversity, would that also include perhaps a member or even two at the most of the majority so that we
Possibly.
get more diverse?
Possibly, yeah. Well, I think, however, whatever rules are set up for that, that could be a possibility.
Thank you.
Mr. Angelo.
Question.
Thank you, President Lucio. Are you the?
Yeah.
You. Well, it's been a long time, Chris.
Yes, it
Great to
has,
see you.
Mike.
Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it, and my apologies for having Walter as a neighbor, but
We all make sacrifices, Mike.
you have a great guy there, and I hope you guys can team up together and possibly have some input.
Okay.
And where were you? I know. Where were you for a while there?
I was up in Quincy,
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
various
Welcome
points
back.
north. Well,
It's good to
thank
have you
you.
back. All right. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Patel. While I don't live in Attleboro, I am the Chief Medical Officer at Sturdy Health, and I've served the Attleboro area for over 18 years. And just wanted to take a moment to speak in favor of the Diversity Committee. Wanted to thank you all for taking the time to listen to the public about this, and thank Mayor DeSimone for bringing such an important initiative forward. As Chief Medical Officer for the organization, one of my goals and desires is to create equitable health care for the Attleboro area. And so that's been one of our tasks over the last year and a half, is to really work around equitable health care. And where I see the benefit of the Diversity Committee for Attleboro is really bringing the voices of such a diverse population to the forefront so we can better understand the needs of all the different populations that live in the Attleboro area. One of the challenges we find in healthcare is that we tend to try to create care for people to the best extent that we can, but often we don't fully understand the needs of different populations. Every population has a different need, whether it be their cultural needs, their language competency, their educational competency, whatever it may be. And how do we understand all of that from where I sit in a hospital? And the Diversity Committee is an opportunity to bring the voices forward so that we at the hospital can also partner with the committee to better understand how we can better serve the diverse population of Attleboro. Within our health equity task force at the hospital, we talk a lot about how do we reach out to the community, how do we get out to where the diverse populations in the community are so we can listen and understand. And I think the Diversity Committee becomes an opportunity to be able to do that. And we're happy to partner with the committee in any way possible to be able to ensure that we are providing equitable health care for the Attleboro area, whether it be as a member of the committee or as a partner with the committee. But I think it's such an important initiative. I think a lot of other people that spoke ahead of me spoke very eloquently about the needs. But it really, as everyone's mentioned, Attleboro is not the population it used to be, right? It has multiple different populations, and I think this is a great opportunity for all those populations to have representation at the governmental level. Ideally, use the committee to change policy if possible, but at least to bring up the concerns in a manner to people that can hear those concerns and then do something about those concerns. And I think that if we are to create the committee, there should be clear goals about clear outcomes we're going to have from the committee. It's not an opportunity just to listen, but it's an opportunity to listen and do. And so how do we affect change from what we're hearing from the committee in order to improve all of the different things that need to be improved to make sure that everybody gets equitable, whether it be healthcare, whether it be equitable representation for minority business owners, equitable care, and whatever that is you're doing. I think this is an important opportunity to be able to do that in a good step forward. And I think it's a process that's going to take time, but we got to start somewhere, and this is a great way to start in order to get to that point in the end.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Lavoy?
Not a question, just a comment, if I may.
It's clarifying questions at public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Patel. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Amy,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, thanks. So I'm Amy Rillinger. I'm the library director here in Attleboro, 74 North Main Street, and I am very much in favor of this commission. In the building I work in, it's a big stone building that says "Free to All" etched in stone in the front. We work very hard so that everyone knows that all means all. In my work, personally and professionally, I sit on a lot of committees with straight, white, middle-aged, middle-class folks. We do good work. We try to elevate stories from other perspectives, but we can't do it ourselves. I want to hear from other perspectives. I want to hear other stories. I want other folks to have a direct line to the mayor, to you all, so that it just serves to make the city better.
Any questions for Amy? Okay.
Thank
Amy,
you.
thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Hi, good
Hello.
evening.
My name is Kiana Channer. I live at 93 Orange Street in Attleboro. I've been a resident here for 5 years now. We moved here from Boston. I just want to give my experience as to moving here. I didn't know what Attleboro was like. I'd never heard of it until I started looking for housing. We tried really hard to stay in the city, but it's extremely expensive for families to purchase decent homes in the city without breaking the bank. And so we found ourselves getting further and further pushed out of the city, and we ended up here in Attleboro, and it was like probably the 85th house that we looked at, and it was the last house. And I did not want to move here because I didn't feel like my kids would grow up with children that look like them. When I was young, I lived in an all-white town. It was like 99% white. And it was a very uncomfortable experience as one of the only black girls in an elementary school with probably 200 kids. It was a huge school. And I said that I would never put my kids through that because of the experience I had. And I felt like my kids would go through that living here. And I know how uncomfortable it can be to be, for someone to tell you that you have really pretty teeth for a black girl, or every time I would change my hair, a white teacher would touch my hair, or ask me if it was mine, or just crazy experiences that I would have. And then going home to tell my mother, or my white neighbor chasing me down the street calling me a nigger, like every single day after school. So I was really hesitant to move here. But when I got here, my daughter was in the METCO program before we got here, and which is a program that takes inner city kids and puts them in rich neighborhoods where they go to better schools. So my daughter was in Lexington, and Lexington's like the #1 school district in America at the time for public school. And the reason that, the reason that made it really hard for me to come here is because my daughter was 5 girls in her school that were black. And on her last day of school in 2nd grade, none of the kids would play with her or talk to her. She'd been in the school since she was in kindergarten. And this is 2nd grade now, so Lexington is a diverse community too, right? There's lots of people from all walks of life, but they have money. And looking at my daughter wandering around the playground, and no child, I mean not one kid, would look her way, pay her any attention. And it was heartbreaking. And I said, if we don't move to Attleboro, I'm pulling her out, and we're just gonna have to find a school that's more diverse. So she can, because I don't want my children just around kids that look like them. I want them to have a full array, a full experience of all different kinds of cultures and people and walks of life. I want them to be educated on these things, because we all really should be one people striving to do the same things. We all want the same things: safe schools, safe neighborhoods, great neighbors, good jobs, great education. We want all those things, but in the community you live in, you need to feel included. You need to feel like you're welcome. You shouldn't have to feel like you don't belong here, or like you don't have access to resources, or things are like, I had no idea about the Winter Festival. I just happened to be driving, and I was like, what the hell is happening? Oh, sorry. I'm like, what's going on? And I find that a lot in the past 5 years that I've been here, and I'm on social media, but I feel like I shouldn't have to go to Facebook to find out that something is happening in Attleboro. Like, we should have some type of community, like a diversity community, that makes sure that people of color can come out and be a part of their community and know what's going on, because there's been an influx of black and brown people that have moved here. I have several black and brown neighbors that live in my area, and they also had no idea about the winter festivity thing that was going on. And so I really feel like I want to plant my feet here fully, because I've been trying to convince my husband to move for the last 2 years because of inclusivity. So it's one of the major things. I just want to feel a part of where I live. I want my kids to feel like that as well. And I feel like this community could, I agree with everything everyone else said. I'm in favor for all those same things. And I think that all those same things where there's policy and action being taken, not just people getting together and talking and nothing happening, we need that. And that's, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Oh, sorry, any questions?
All right, thanks so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in favor?
Good evening.
Good evening, Reverend.
I'm Cheryl Harris, 14 Greenwich Street, Attleboro. Been an Attleboro resident for 12 years, and I do love this city. This topic is a topic I'm passionate about, diversity. It's a field I've worked in for 30 years and have had a consulting business for 20 years focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And most of you know, I am a retired pastor of First Baptist Church. So all of these reasons, I could not miss coming here tonight to stand in support of the Diversity Committee. So I've tried to put myself in your shoes and think about what would the council think about to help them make this decision? What are some of the objections that they might have to consider? And I've come up with these 10 points. I'll go through them relatively quickly, so says a Baptist minister. So think about these 3 words: proactive, power, and partnership. Proactive, partner, power, and partnership. So investing in diversity is an investment in the overall well-being of the community. After all, diversity is everyone. Racially, ethnically, religion, socioeconomics, gender, identity, age, sexual orientation, physical ability, disability, cultural backgrounds. No one is excluded when we talk about diversity. So while our city is diverse, as so many people have said, a diversity committee ensures that we proactively, openly, and transparently enhance our community's capacity to collaboratively address shared challenges. It serves as a platform for collaborative efforts, ensuring that diverse voices contribute to any potential disparities or challenges that may arise, and that can bolster trust between government and community while building understanding and unity. Change is inevitable, and embracing diversity is a positive evolution. A diversity committee demonstrates the city's commitment to addressing needs of all of its residents. A diversity committee doesn't negate the city's history, but it builds on it, ensuring that our community remains resilient, adaptable, and responsive to the needs of all residents, and actively working towards this, creating an inclusive environment where all residents feel valued and heard based on their determination of what it means to be valued and heard. When I moved to this city in 2012, the demographics were 97% white, and 2 or 3% Black, and then 2 or 3% Latino. Now it's 89% white, so the demographics are changing, and 6% Hispanic is the last census data I saw, and 4% Black. And we know we don't count everyone, so the numbers are growing and changing. So forming such a committee is not a symbolic gesture. It's about continuous improvement. And the proposed diversity committee can play a crucial role in advising on policy development, advocating for policies that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion to ensure the interests of all parties are considered, and to help address systemic issues to ensure cities' policies, programs, and services are reflective of our city's demographic diversity. I'm at number 6 now. Promoting diversity doesn't mean compromising meritocracy. A diverse committee aims to create equitable opportunities for all residents, ensuring that merit is recognized and rewarded regardless of background, contributing to a fair and competitive community. In other words, everyone has an opportunity to have access to these services in the city in a way that may not have been representative or part of the thinking before, not out of malice, but because when we have our lens based on our background and experiences, we can't help but have blind spots. And when you have diversity, you open yourself up to fewer blind spots. So the goal is not to prioritize one group over another, but to create an environment where everyone's unique perspective and contributions are valued. 8. A diversity committee complements existing initiatives and provides a centralized focus and accountability. Being a result-driven organization committee, it will work in tandem with community partners, other city services, other city committees, and existing structures to streamline processes and implement holistic and effective solutions. Not turning away from the challenge of diversity, equity, inclusion, but to openly, transparently, and proactively embrace those things, have the conversation, and benefit from the perspective of everyone. By proactively addressing issues related to diversity and inclusion and ensuring equitable distribution of power, and partnering with a variety of stakeholders, a diversity committee can help prevent conflicts and tensions that may arise due to cultural misunderstandings or discrimination, promoting a more harmonious community and making it possible for more contributors to come into the system and to be at the table. Last one. Good intentions are not enough. They won't get anything done. Good intentions will not foster a welcoming, diverse, and inclusive community. Good intentions combined with committed action with tangible, realistic goals, that will make the difference. I hope you'll choose to do it. I implore you to move forward with the Diversity Committee.
Do we have any questions? Mr. Waterman.
I'll have 2. I'll start with what may be the most easiest one.
Easy
when
for
I
you to
moved
say.
here in 2002, I was looking for a community that was diverse because of my background. And what I have not heard tonight, and I'm wondering in your research, did you get some research, did it come across about the Southeastern Asian community here?
Yeah, there are a number of them, but the numbers get smaller because of the distribution that gets us to 100%. But there's a large population of that community. So a large population of the Latino community, Hispanic, Latinx. I don't know the right terms right now because they keep changing, but yes, and blacks as well. Mm-hmm.
And then you talk about setting goals.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about how we go about setting those goals?
Yeah, absolutely. Many thoughts, probably too many to name in this setting, but certainly to start with data, right? If we have these committees, we have all these volunteer committees, we have these long terms. I heard 2027, 2029. So it makes it difficult to make some appreciable difference by representation on those boards because those people are on for so long. So one of the things that we might think about is to stagger terms so that there's some rolling off of some existing committees so that other people have an opportunity to get on, or to identify when the committee's turning over and to make sure we do vast recruitment and get the word out in a broader way so more people are aware of it and they're not relegated to just looking at a social media site or something. So those are just 2 off the top of my head, but many other ways that we can work on increasing the representation and having more people at the table. It's important that this is not ever seen as subtracting, right? Not replacement, but adding. How do we add and rotate so that we have more representation across the board? And there are many opportunities. I think when we put together, I'm already believing that you're going to do it, when we put together the diversity committee, then you have a number of minds in this collective intelligence to think about ways to address it.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Mr. Angelo?
Thank you, President Delicio. Thank you, Reverend. You come with a lot of great ideas and a lot of passion. And are you going to be hopefully being part of this group?
I could be. Was that our friend's answer? I love that answer. I could be. I certainly would be interested, but we'll see. There's some incredible people here.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right,
thank you for the question.
Mr. Tavares?
Just wanted to say thank you for the perspective that you gave in thinking about it from the council's point of view. Selfishly, that's very helpful.
Good.
For me. But one of my questions for you is, obviously you've been very engaged in the city for years in your prior work, and so I'm very curious. What is your estimation of the diversity that exists now in city government across boards, commissions? What are your thoughts on that at a very practical level?
I think it's changing. We're in the process of transformation in this city. So as more people of different backgrounds across the spectrum that I mentioned come into the city, I think we start to see more. But it's still too homogenous, don't you think? I mean, just look at our council seats, and thank God for you all serving, and public service is such an important and challenging role to play. And we have opportunities to mentor, to encourage, to cajole more candidates, and also in city jobs. So as jobs turn over, as people retire, we have an opportunity to fill those positions with people of difference. And we have to start thinking about, what does leadership look like? We get locked into a way that leadership looks like. So we think about, for example, a CEO of a company, we think immediately white male. But what about a female? What about someone who's disabled? Can that person be a leader? What about a person of color? So to really start to have a mindset change about what the person looks like who fulfills the role, when we've only seen a person who is white in that role.
Follow up, if I may.
No.
You're going to go to a training class.
Trying to take advantage of it while you're here. So, in light of what you've just said, do you sort of have a helpful way for us to think about, like, at what point would you say Attleboro would look diverse from your perspective at that city level?
Oh, that's such a tricky question, Jonathan. And it's dangerous to answer that question by numbers only. It's not fair. I think that every department, every unit has to look at where they are, who they are, what they do, and determine what is the capacity within the community that has the qualifications to fill the role. And then what are the demographics of those who have those qualifications? And if we don't have those people of color available who have the capacity and the qualifications, what can we do educationally, if that's the case, or skill-wise, to make sure that those people either come through, or that we make a partnership with Bridgewater State or something like that. But I would never advocate that we attach numbers as the only metric. That we have to look at who are we today? What is that department doing? What is the capacity for bringing in? And then how do we support people when they come in? Because if we recruit and hire, but we don't have a retention strategy and a way for those people to be successful, we're going to have a revolving door and disappointment. So there's a lot to think about when we are looking at this issue.
Council Sawyer.
Hi.
Yes, hi, Lori.
How you doing? I have sort of a follow-up question to Jonathan's as far as the data and people who are in the community, because as you probably know, diversity can also be hidden. Some things that are, a small disability that people aren't going to see, or a sexual orientation that people aren't going to see, that you just kind of, but that's also part of the diversity. And I wonder if the diversity committee might be something, in your estimation, that could bring out all of the diversity and help to get that CEO to be a diverse person, or to help with the data collection in the city.
Yeah, I think that it's so important to under-promise and over-deliver, right? So you want to have goals that are reachable so that you can keep going, and that you're not under pressure because it's the first one, that people are having their expectations so high that all you can do is fail. So we don't want that. But I do think a diversity committee could address these things. And for me, one of the things I think about is we have our city council meetings, we have the public meetings, but we don't have anyone signing. So then we're saying to the deaf community, you're not included. We're not thinking about you. We're not going to invest in a way for you to be a part of these meetings, which would be something the diversity committee would bring up. They say we have to have signers at every public meeting. And I know it's expensive, but that's about the investment. And that brings more people in. So we can't always see those who cannot hear, but we should anticipate that those who cannot hear want to be a contributor in our community.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to speak in favor?
I guess I'm last. But can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Come if I got to hear. We need the microphone. He said that would be good.
Don't pull it out.
Oh no, I think you can hear me. He told me earlier that. Well, my name is Albert Richmond, and like a lot of people, I've been here a long time. I've been here 50 years now. Instead of calling it half a century, I'll just call it 50 years. But I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot in Attleboro. I've seen it start out as a nice, real nice town, grow to a nice city, and then all of a sudden with a little Texas Instrument and all the places around and whatnot. So the city dropped off. Now it's growing back again, but as it grows back, the city becomes very, very diversified in terms of the number of people. At one point in time, I thought I was the only black guy in southeastern Massachusetts. For a long time. Most of my friends was out of Rhode Island. But over time, I've seen it progress, and I've seen more and more people move into town. And I've always thought Attleboro was a great town. I never had any problem that I'm aware of. My kids never had any problem going to the school that I'm aware of. But as the town grows, so does the population grows, and the diversity of the people that come in grows. So I'm here in support of the Diversity Council because we need a forum. We don't always agree on things, but we need to be able to get together and talk and discuss issues and progresses and things to help the entire community, not necessarily black and brown, but black, brown, white, Portuguese. Pick your nationality, pick your sexual preference, pick whatever you want to pick. But the idea is for everybody to sit and talk and discuss things, and not run around with the computers and the telephones, the texts and the emails and all that. That doesn't accomplish anything. But being able to sit face to face and discuss issues that are privy to everybody. And like I say, we may not always agree. And I guess, unlike some, I see diversity as being everybody, inclusive. And whether that's white, black, it doesn't matter. It's everybody trying to come together with one common goal, and that's to serve the community, to help and promote everybody and everything. I sat for the last 6 to 7 months thinking about what diversity would mean to Attleboro, but the pastor stole all my information. so I'm going to leave it alone. So I'm going to cut it short only because she elaborated exactly what I would have wanted to say in terms of what we need to do. It's not all about jobs and whatnot. Education is critical. There's all kinds of things that we need to do to bring the population to a certain level. But we need to be able to communicate. And the Diversity Council will give us the ability to communicate. As I say, whether you agree or not, is irrelevant. We don't always have to agree on anything. We all got different opinions, and we all agree on certain different things and whatnot. But the idea is to come together in harmony and try to solve issues that affect everybody. Everybody's child, everybody's kid. Everybody should have equal opportunity. Everybody should have the same level as anybody. And just to give you a quick rundown on my background, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King was killed about 1.5 miles from my house when I was in 11th grade. Memphis was 75% black. I went to the University of Minnesota. Minnesota was 100% white. So I don't have issues with anybody because I've seen good and bad on both sides. But what I haven't seen is everybody getting together and disregarding as your religion, your race, your sexual preference, whatever, and just say, look, my opinion is different than yours. Where can we agree? Where do we disagree? And how do we solve the problem for everybody? And I'm good. So that's my...
Do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Uh-oh. How you doing, Todd?
Good to see you, Al.
You're good.
Would disabilities be part of this as well?
I'm sorry?
A diversity committee, would that include people with various disabilities?
Well, diverse means exactly that word, diverse. It could be handicap, disability, blind, but it's people coming together in a forum to speak whatever issues they are to make the community as a whole better. Not me specifically. Well, I got to sacrifice something that somebody else can get an advantage. As long as it don't hurt me too bad, I'm willing to give up a little bit, that kind of thing. So I think it would include just exactly what the word means, diverse, inclusive. It could be all white, could be all black, could be all whatever it is, as long as the purpose of the organization is to develop a program that benefit everybody, include all of its citizens, so that everybody has equal access to whatever is available for them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richmond.
Yes.
Thank
Always
you.
good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry?
Always good to see you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Take care. Do we have anyone else to speak in favor?
Good evening, Melissa Martin, 1283 Park Street. So I'm a little bit late. We're coming over from the 7 o'clock meeting for Martin Luther King Committee. I'm the secretary, and Ethel, the chairperson, Ethel Garvin, she's said that I'm perfectly okay to speak for her, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say that she's in favor, and so am I. So, but from my own personal standpoint, I started out when I graduated. I grew up in the Taunton area. I live here in Attleboro now. I started out. I went to Salem State College way back in the '90s, and I was always interested in. I always wanted to understand, and had so much confusion, and there was so much going on about racism around me. And I finally had a man, a teacher, a professor. His name was Farnell Longus, the late Farnell Longus. And he had an organization called the People's Alliance for Undoing Racism for the Salem community. And I said, this is the teacher, this is the one I'm gonna learn what I've been wanting to learn for a long time, that I knew was there, that I wasn't learning in school up until then. And boy, did he. We did a lot of community organization work, a lot. And we ended up having a lot of progress in the Lynn and Salem area. And I said, why can't I bring this home? I come home, and it's not happening. People looking at me like I'm a nut. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? We could do it there, why can't we do it here? So as people have said, you know, this city is growing. We're at 47,000 people. Here, we're not, I'm gonna say it, we're not fully integrated. We're just not. We're not fully integrated. We can see that from looking at each other. We're not fully integrated. Whether it's on purpose, whether it's not on purpose, we're not fully integrated. And so although I wouldn't call it a diversity committee myself, but I'm in favor of the diversity committee. And that's because it's critical, we need it. So, you know, as more housing gets built, there are going to be more of us living together, sharing a space. We know in other cities, when we look at other cities, we can look at Boston, we can look at Detroit, we can see that they're built into their institutions, whether it's a police department, my mouth is so dry, I'm sorry, whether it's a police department or whether it's a school system, we can see that they're built in policies to undo some of the racism that's happened in the past. And they do that because they have to, because if they don't, there are disasters. People die. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but I'm just saying that we have a good community here. And we value everybody here. We value everybody's life here. And we're all coming from different lenses, and we're all coming from a different culture. So when we look around our institutions, and I've spoken before about the lack of diversity that I see in the schools with the teachers. My daughter is being sent a message just by seeing the lack of diversity. She's being sent a message. And so this is not just about, as others have said, this is about every child and every person. We send a message when we're not representative as institutional bodies. We send a message. It's an unspoken message, but it's a message. And so it needs to be addressed. And when I look at even our governor, she's created an advisory council for Black empowerment. And she has 30 people on that board. And she's moving us in the right direction. You'll see that the leader is Tanisha Sullivan, NAACP president, and our speaker, coincidentally, at the MLK event 2 years ago. We need this. This isn't an option. And we need people's views who are actually targeted and affected by this to be on this committee, to direct us, and to be leading. We need to be laborers, but we need, when I was in Farnell Longus's People's Alliance for Undoing Racism in Salem, and I'm not saying that this is what we should necessarily do, but just to consider, part of our bylaws were that there was a percentage of that alliance that had to be people of color. It just had to be. I'm putting that out there because we need to understand that it is different to be on the receiving end of racism, of bigotry, than to be in the group that is not on the receiving end of that. And I would just lastly say that if a committee is formed, I really think that there's at least two elements that it needs to have. Because we know that committees can be formed and they can be, the time spent can be sometimes spent on just making, as someone else has already said, statements, and then the action doesn't follow. I would say that each person that ends up on the committee should be able to work on with the same working definitions, a list of working definitions. Terms like racism, like culture, like ethnicity, like stereotyping, all of these terms that community organizers use, because how can you work without the same working definitions? And these words get thrown around, race, culture, and ethnicity, very easily. And people using one definition of the term and other people using another definition of the term. We need to have perhaps, I don't know if a training or some type of for example, what we did was we went to People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. It was out of New Orleans, Louisiana. They came up here to Boston, they came up here to Chestnut Hill, they came up here to Salem, and we went. And we got a re-education about all the things that we learned that we would have to unlearn. All the things, not all the things, but a start of the things that we needed to know that were left out of our history, that were left out of our education. And that's where we started, and then we came back and we created high school workshops for race, culture, and ethnicity. And we did them all through the North Shore. And we had high schools all come together. We had Lynn English, we had Lynn Classical, we had Hamilton Wenham, we had St. John's Prep, we had all of these different high schools with different backgrounds come together and explore their own identities, first of all, and come together and so that they could have these working definitions that they could take on in their college years to continue the work. Being on the same page. So that's one element I would think it would need to happen. And the second element I would say would be another part of the training that I got in the social work program at Salem State. And that was a prompting of individual exploration of your own racial identity. And because there's a personal, especially for us as white people, there's a personal growth that needs to happen if you're going to, or personal work that you need to do, that you're gonna have to do for your whole life. And you need to be able to be doing that if you're gonna work with other people in your community organization group work. So this is what I've been hoping to see come home with me. I'm 48 years old now. I mean, that's when I was, I was 19, 20 years old. And still, I'm still want to bring it home, even after Funnel's gone. So that's what I would have to say, is that I'm definitely in favor. And I would also say that as a part of the diversity question that people are kind of tossing around and discussing, I think that there's a need to recognize that there's a difference between, and again, this comes back to the terms, racism, ethnocentrism, ageism. There's a difference between all of these isms. But when you look at racism, you see that people with disabilities or people with all kinds of different issues or different diverse aspects of their lives, it's harder for a person who is of color still. So I know we want to talk about disability, I know we want to talk about homosexuality, but you got to think, it's still a double whammy or a triple whammy or whatever it is when you are facing racism that comes at you in our community. So I got to wrap because I know I'm taking too long. But that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And do we have anyone else speak in favor?
Hello, President Delacio.
Mayor DeSimone, how are you?
Kathleen DeSimone. I live at 8 Northville Road. Half of the time, the other half of the time, I'm upstairs. I want to make 3 quick points, if I may. Number one, I'm super excited about this diversity committee. I'm super excited about the turnout, and I want to make it very clear what my intentions were in proposing the business and drafting the ordinance. That, to some degree, the charge in the group is defined, but very much, I'm going to leave it up to the folks who constitute the body to determine where they want to go, how they want to do it, and I will be there to serve and support all of you who may be appointed to the committee. I don't want to define it too much. I want people to tell me what I need to know and what I can do. Number 2, all of you people here tonight, if you want to serve on this board or another board, email me or call me or ask one of your counselors, because I'd be more than happy to point you to one of the other many boards in the city. There's a lot of important work going on. The diversity committee will just be another example of that. Number 3, to the woman's point about, if I may, yes, if I may, I want to share what the, forgive me.
Point of order.
Councilor Holmes.
This is supposed, I'm sorry.
And I apologize,
not to be,
Councilor
trying to be
Holmes.
rude, but.
It is, however, a public forum, so I want to highlight to the people behind me that in terms of knowing about events in the city, I want to give a plug, if you will, to the Civic Alert notification system, because the fact that people didn't know about the Winterfest and may have missed it bothers me. So I encourage you all to go to the city website and sign up for the City Alert notification system so you will know about events and all sorts of other business in the city, including the creation of a new committee and all of that. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Do we
much.
have any questions for the mayor?
Yes, I do.
Councilor Sawyer, then Councilor Lavoy.
I just wanted to ask what you think would negatively happen to Attleboro to not have a diversity committee.
I don't even know what to say to that question. We are all, you know, ideally, we don't need a diversity committee, right? Because ideally, everybody has equal access and opportunity to all the boards, committees, elected positions, jobs, et cetera, right? But we are a richer community by being diverse. I very much love Attleboro's current socioeconomic demographic. I think we need to celebrate it, and we need to get more people involved and engaged meaningfully and across the board. So to answer your question, Councilor Sawyer, we will be better for it and lesser if we don't.
Councilor Lavoy.
Thank you, President Delacio, and thank you, Madam Mayor, for coming out tonight. I echoed the Civics plug line when I heard they didn't know about the festival as well. Great program. The one question I have is, you mentioned people suggesting to you who should be on the board as the person who's going to ultimately kick down, appointment requests to.
If I may, not to be on the board, Councilor Lavoy, but more in terms of what they see as important, what work they want to do. The appointments will be mine, subject to the council's confirmation. But what I meant to say is, to some degree, they need to define themselves, right? And I will follow.
No, that's all I was curious about. I didn't know if you had a set, execution in mind of how I was going to communicate to who should be on and who shouldn't. So that was only my question. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delacio. Thank you, Mayor DeSimone. Appreciate you coming down here tonight and speaking. And I could be way off base on this.
Yeah.
But coming from being a grandfather of a biracial grandson and a student, and I know bullying in Attleboro in any school has been around for a long time. It was there when I was younger, and it is continuing now, and I am presently dealing with it. Do you think that would fit into somewhere along the line of a diversity committee too, where they might get help? I know there's the human rights.
Yeah, first of all, I would definitely take it up with the school, the guidance counselors, the administration, et cetera. Mike, look, is there overlap?
I'm speaking more for everybody.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
I suppose so. I would never want to say no, and there may be merit and value in raising the issue on as many fronts as possible. Issues cross lines, right? There are no boxes. We don't live in a box. The Diversity Commission is not one box, and human rights is another box. So let's not think about it in terms of boxes. Let's think about it in bringing maximum resources to bear on whatever the problem is. So if your loved one you think is being bullied because of his or her race or skin color, then you might want to bring in a diversity committee. You might want to bring in the human rights committee. You might want to bring in all sorts of committees, right? Whatever it takes to solve the problem, but you particularly picked one that's important to me, because bullying is offensive. And it breaks my heart, because I too know what some kids have gone through, and it's the absolute scourge of our community. But I would suggest, Counselor, that we bring any and all resources to bear on that problem, and you reach out to anybody and everybody who can help you and your loved one, because that's sure as heck what I would do.
Thank you.
Council Tavares.
So, thank you, Mayor DeSimone. Just a couple questions. I'll float us some of the same questions I asked to previous speaker from your perspective. I'd be really curious to get some feedback on that. Since you're taking office, would you say Attleboro has become more diverse in terms of city government, boards, commissions?
You mean in 9 months? I don't know, Jonathan. Councilor Tavares, I'd have to look up I'd have to. I don't know that the results would even be in. I would obviously one of the data points I would go to would be to the census. I'd have to talk. I don't know how I would determine that.
I can ask that question, and I'm sorry if I wasn't clear with that. I'm saying in terms of boards and commissions, obviously.
Yes, well, I'm making a concerted effort.
Yes. I was speaking that direction.
Yeah, and I've had the opportunity to work with some of the folks in this audience, and I'm certainly making a concerted effort to make it more diverse. And by diverse, to me, isn't just skin color. It's up, down, sideways, backwards. It's all of that and everything. So yes, that's part of my agenda. It's a goal of mine, yes.
So just to follow up there as well, would you have any feedback or any ideas, or from your perspective, ways that we could measure how we're becoming more diverse as a city from that perspective, whether it be in city departments?
You mean participation-wise?
Yeah, participation, members of boards.
Yeah, who do you see?
So.
Who do you see? I mean, I would suggest that the measurement be fundamentally anecdotal, but look around. Who do you see at the places you go, and the meetings that you attend, and the various boards and bodies and organizations of the city? I think that would be the first indicator, right? Is if you see more different kind of faces and different people there. But in terms of a more quantitative way to measure, I don't know. So I think it's going to have to be more qualitative and lived experience. What are people seeing? And what are the interactions like? At the end of the day, and I learned this lesson from another organization I was on called Neighbors in Dialogue, it's about community. And the community that you live in, the community that you want to live in, and the people that you interact with. So what I would like to see is just more and different kind of folks all over the place. There's not a number. And to your question about Reverend Harris, there's no number. It's not you can't quantify. I'm not trying to hit a target. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make the city a better place, and I think getting more folks engaged across the board in all ways is the way to do it. So I don't, it's like the Supreme Court said, I'll know it when I see it, I guess, to some degree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, President Oseo.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to speak in favor?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Deborah Britt. I don't live in Attleboro, but I'm here all the time. I partnership with a lot of organizations. I'm from the National Black Dog Museum, and we host the Juneteenth. I just want to say that I support Attleboro having a diversity, and for me, not only the partnerships that I form all over the region, because I do Attleboro, Plainville, Mansfield, Foxborough. I do a lot of work in all those different communities. And what I thought about as I listened to everybody else speak was that economically, a diversity committee is good. And I can tell you this because working as a museum, people come into the museum from all over the country and they talk to me. And what I learned a lot was they send out these scouters, big businesses, when they decide that they want to come into a city. And what they do with the scouters is, a lot of times I get the wives that come to the museum, while the husbands go and check out what's going on in the city and how diverse it is. Because when employers come in, they want to know that they're people that they're bringing from other places, that they're going to be welcoming. And so if you're thinking about why we should do this, besides it being a good thing, think about the economic impact that a diversity committee would make. My 2 cents. Like I said, I don't live here.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you very much for coming out. Do we have anyone else to speak in favor?
Hello.
Hi, Ethel.
My name is Ethel Garvin, and I am a longtime resident of Attleboro and Norton. Moving to this area in 1976, I'm approaching my 60th birthday, so I've been here for a while. I was greeted on my first day at Norton Middle School with the N-word. And it's my sense from the essays that I read from the students who applied to the MLK scholarship, where they respond to their thoughts about MLK and his commitment to social justice, that tenor hasn't changed so much in the Attleboro schools. I went to the Norton Public Schools, but that tenor hasn't changed so much in the Attleboro High School. And then I also want to speak, so I just want to say that, and I want to just register my support for that. And I want to also speak on behalf of the churches, the black churches here in Attleboro. You would be fulfilling the desires, gripes, and complaints of at least 2 pastors who have passed away, who have pastored 2 of the black churches here in Attleboro, who have walked through City Hall and who always complained about the lack of diversity in here. And so the congregation know, the pastors know. The pastors knew that, like I said, they both have passed on. So yes, I don't want to go on long because I know it's already been said by a lot of people who have been here. I'm not going to repeat what you've already heard, but that's my experience as someone who has grown up in this area and who has chosen to stay here for whatever reason. I'm still here. I found good work. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Ethel, could we just have your address for the record, please?
7 Park Avenue.
Great. Thank you.
Attleboro.
Thank you. And thank you for coming out, and thank you for the great work you do. Do we have anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Councilor Tavares, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
And I declare that public hearing closed. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please go into the reading of the second public hearing, please?
Certainly. Second public hearing pursuant to Section 16-2.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, as amended, to lay out a portion of Rathbun Willett Drive as a public way, length of 1,842.76 feet, from Station 0-40.86 to Station 18 plus 01.90.
Folks, I'm sorry, if we could just limit the noise, it carries forward, so thank you.
And accept said way and any related drainage, water or sewer facilities or easements, all as shown on a plan and profile entitled Street Acceptance Plan, portion of Rathbun Willett Drive in Brennan Way, dated October 20th, 2023, prepared by Alicia A. Zukowski, RPE, and Daniel F. Fleming, PLS, of Samoids Consultants Incorporated, which plan and profile have been deemed satisfactory to the Superintendent of Public Works.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak against? Do we have anyone to speak neither for nor against? Councilor Sawyer, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
I declare that public hearing closed, and Madam Clerk will go on to the reading of the third and final public hearing, please.
Third public hearing pursuant to Section 16-2.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as amended to lay out a portion of Brennan Way as a public way, length of 224.50 feet from Station 0 plus 30 to Station 2 plus 54.50, and accept said way and any related drainage, water, sewer facilities, or easements, all as shown on a plan and profile entitled Street Acceptance Plan, portion of Rathbun Willett Drive in Brennan Way, dated October 20th, 2023.
Folks, I'm very sorry. We can't hear the business going on. If we could just limit the speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Prepared by Alicia A. Zukowski, RPE, and Daniel F. Fleming, PLS, of Samoids Consultants Incorporated, which plan and profile have been deemed satisfactory to the Superintendent of Public Works.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak in favor? Do we have anyone to speak against? Do we have anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Council Sawyer, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
Okay.
President Delicia.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Nicole Terry. I live on 12 Rathbun Willard Drive. So I'm not entirely sure what this is about, but I do want to just bring to attention, ever since the high school's been built, I don't know if anyone drives by the Sweet Forest, but it is collecting water with poor drainage. I know that we wanted to keep the or there's an order, whatever, to keep the parking lot across the street. So I think if it does become a city issue, we do need to just be aware of drainage issues, water issues. Ever since the fields have been finished, the sports fields have been finished, my basement has flooded twice. I understand we've had, biblical type rain, but that is something that, does raise some concerns. So just to take that into account when looking over any issues in terms of drainage of the road, looking that over with some real consequences. So.
Okay. No, thank you for coming out. If you could leave your name and phone number with our the council assistant, we could try to look into some of those issues that you've had as well.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Okay. Nicole, thank you. Do we have anyone else to speak neither for nor against? Council Sawyer, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
Thank you. I declare that public hearing closed. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would entertain a motion to go into committee of the whole.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are now in committee of the whole. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on any matter of city business? Mr. Kerr, good evening.
Good evening. This is pretty ridiculous. I tried to speak during the last agenda item for the Committee on Civil Rights, the Committee on Diversity, and I was stripped of that right for some reason. Virginia is telling me that, as a staunch advocate for disability rights, I have been holding the city accountable day after day, just fighting for disabled people like myself to be able to speak at these meetings. And for some reason, Virginia has the idea that I only want to be able to speak at committee of the whole, when all the rest of the citizens of Attleboro get to speak in favor or against whatever committee item. I just am stripped of that right solely because I'm disabled. It's just, again, it's another dig. And I will be filing suit against the city for this action tonight. I just want you guys to be aware of that. This is going to be a suit against each and every member of the council now. There's no getting around this. This is an absolute egregious violation of my rights that just happened live on television. And I wanted to be able to speak to the people of Attleboro. This is the most important part. I am totally in favor of the diversity committee. But what I find funny is I believe that you guys are creating this diversity committee out of a lie, out of the ability to try to pander to the people. The mayor, you guys yourselves have come out and you guys have been such advocates, or you guys are trying to say, oh, we're trying to help all these different people and all these different groups, and yet at the same point in time, you have council, you have one of the council members, I can't think of his name right now, and I'm very sorry for that. I'm losing my train of thought. We just appointed tonight 2 members. The mayor had picked 2 people that are direct violators of civil rights in the Americans with Disabilities Act. You just appointed Peter Mello as the city solicitor, and you've appointed Bill McDonough, the ADA coordinator. Both of these individuals have egregiously violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. How have they done it? Well, Peter Mello is the city solicitor, right? Peter Mello advised the ADA coordinator, Bill McDonough, that when I had filed a grievance with the city saying that I, as a disabled individual, had been stripped of my rights to be able to speak at these meetings, Peter Mello advised Bill McDonough, the ADA coordinator, you don't have to worry about that pesky Americans with Disabilities Act. Why would that be? All we have to worry about is state law. Why would the ADA coordinator have to worry about the ADA? That makes absolutely no sense. This is an attorney. We are paying for somebody to represent the city that is just a complete idiot. Not only just an idiot, but is just engaging in violations of laws that have been on the books for over 34 years. This is just absolutely ridiculous. And then we have the ADA coordinator, who by law is supposed to bring the city to ADA compliance. And I reach out to Bill McDonough and I express I have a physical disability. All I want to do is be able to speak at these meetings. And Bill McDonough pushes it off for 6 months. You have Mayor DeSimone that I spoke to over a year and a half ago. Sorry, over a year and a half ago, when she, I reached out to her, never got a response when she was on the city council. Now, when she became the mayor, I had reached out to her and I had expressed, hey, I would like to be able to speak at these city council meetings. And the mayor says, you know, Andrew, I can't do anything. I can't let you can't be able to speak. This is a council rule. The council has a rule that actually prevents people from participating remotely. And what was funny is the council actually had a rule in play at the time that's still in play, just mind you. They have not changed any of these rules, unless you guys want to stand me corrected and say that you guys have voted to change these rules. But as of right now, I'm under the assumption from reading online, from the publicly available information, that only members of the council, aside from me, because I'm suing you guys in federal court, only members of the council can participate remotely. And I find that shocking. I find that shocking that that would be the case. The other thing that I found shocking was that even today I spoke to Virginia, and Virginia got very mad at me today. Virginia was mad at me because I was asking her why she has not filled my public records request. I had asked her I had filed a verbal public records request with Virginia, very simply, because I know that Virginia is completely incompetent, cannot follow the law. And my public records request was very simply, just so everybody in the public can know, because this is going to be another lawsuit against the city, another taxpayer-funded lawsuit that the city has to pay for, all because you guys just do not want to follow the law. I've reminded you time and time again. Different government bodies have reminded you time and time again. You guys just think you guys are above the law. So I have to engage in federal litigation to force your hand. But Virginia, the request that I filed with Virginia was very simple. All I wanted was any email from the council that had the name Andrew Koenig or Mr. Koenig. And again, I really highly doubt you guys are talking about me that much. So this could be 2 emails, maybe 3 emails. He could not send this to me. I filed this request with her in the beginning of December. She has refused to facilitate the request. Today, even speaking to her, she told me that she would only facilitate my request if I put it in writing. And again, I've talked to her time and time again. I've informed her that the Public Records Act is passed under Massachusetts law. There is no format for a public records request. Me talking right now could be a version of a public records request. If I want to have a public records request, I want to write it and send it by carrier pigeon. If I want to talk to you on the phone, if I am somehow able to text Virginia and I text her that request, all of these forms are acceptable records requests. But Virginia, the high and mighty Virginia, that works for the city council of a city of 50,000, believes that she is above the law. She believes that she does not have to actually read the statutes, which I've tried to inform her of and spoken to her of, that she just does not have to do that. She does not have to facilitate my request, and I actually have to cater to her will to be able to get this request facilitated. This is just other examples of, I love that we're going to have this diversity committee, but how do we have any faith as the people of Attleboro that this is going to actually just not be all talk and no bite? Because that's all I can keep seeing from you guys. We have Council Member Angelo, thank God I remembered his name this time, appointing somebody tonight. The mayor picks this person. The mayor picks somebody that is a civil rights violator. It says, I love this person to be on, work for the city, and the city solicitor. And then you members of the council, you guys just confirmed it tonight. Said, you know what? Peter Mello, civil rights violator, perfect. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. We want people that violate civil rights. We want people that violate the Americans with Disabilities Act. We need these people in our city government, clearly. That's what your guys' viewpoint is. We clearly need these people. But not only that, we don't even need them just in the government. We need them as our attorneys. Because those are the best, that's the best place to put bigots, is our attorneys. And not only that, we have an ADA coordinator, Bill McDonough, who lies to me about why he can't do something. He tries to exploit my good faith. He started speaking to me about how he couldn't help me because he was going to go visit his son, and his son was this big docking ceremony. His son was in the Navy. I have a tremendous amount of respect for our armed forces. Any member that represented, any first responder, all of these individuals, people that are represented in my family. I have both my brothers were in the armed services. One was in the Marines, one was in the Army. Tremendous amount of respect for these people. So he says, I am going to go see this docking ceremony with my son. I cannot get back to you. How about I reach back out to you and we'll try to rectify this situation. This was in August of last year when I was complaining about this. We'll try to rectify that situation next week. And I said, you know what? If you're going to go see this docking ceremony with your son, why don't you take a little bit extra time? Because this is a big event. This is really cool. He's been gone for 3 years on deployment or 2 years. This would be really cool for you. So why don't you just take as much time as you need? You can push back my rights being violated for 2 years another week. It's no big deal to me, as long as you try to help. And that was the agreement. And what happens is the next week, Bill McDonough never calls me back. To this day, Bill McDonough has refused to return any of my phone calls. He exploited my goodwill in respect for our armed services to just spit in my face and not uphold the Americans with Disabilities Act. His son, that arguably fought for and defending the Constitution of the United States, these rights, he essentially spit in his son's face because his son is fighting for these rights and Bill McDonough is actively working in the city of Attleboro to upend these rights for all disabled individuals. What I find funny is that out of all the disability boards that we have in Attleboro and all these civil rights boards and advocate boards, that I, as a private disabled citizen, have done more for the disabled people of the city of Attleboro in the last 3 months, myself, through filing civil action, than any person that is on the payroll of the city government of Attleboro in years and or decades. And it's absolutely ridiculous that I have to remind you guys time and time again that you cannot discriminate against me solely because I'm disabled. If I would like to participate in government activities, like an able-bodied person, I have that right. And the fact of the matter is we're having this discussion about a diversity board, and I'm literally sitting here and saying, I've had to fight for 2 years just to be able to speak here at these meetings. It's absolutely ridiculous. We have bigger problems here than a diversity board. If we have the people that this diversity board is going to speak to appointing bigots and people that just violate the law time and time again to these boards. You know, I asked Virginia today, I said, Virginia, why are you violating the Public Records Act law? Why are you not facilitating my public records request? And you know what she said to me? She said, sir, you're harassing me. You're harassing me, sir. You can't keep calling me and asking me why I'm violating the law. You're harassing me. Virginia needs to understand that I have a First Amendment right to redress my grievances with public officials. Public officials, you want to look up the broad term of a public official, it's any person that works for a government, whether it be a city government, state government, or a federal government employee. I have a constitutional right to redress my grievances with those officials. So it's impossible to say that I'm harassing her by calling and saying, I would like to conduct business. I'm trying to get this public records request facilitated. Why are you failing to facilitate this request? Why are you in violation of this law? And then she says, actually, you're a criminal, Andrew, because you're harassing me. It makes absolutely no sense. We have some bigger problems at foot, and I think you guys need to really look at the bigger picture here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. Do we have anyone else who wishes to address the city council on any piece of business? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to arise from committee of the whole.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now go into committee reports, starting as always with Councilor Cobus.
Thank you.
Oh, and Mayor's communication, I apologize.
February 20th, 2024. Dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Duff White, 12 Carnegie Way, Attleboro, to fill an unexpired term on the Board of Police Commissioners. Term to expire February 2026. Supporting documents provided.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Auditor Deborah Gould regarding the need for additional funding for a fire ambulance. On February 21st, 2023, your honorable body authorized $475,000 for the purpose of purchasing a new ambulance for the fire department. This authorization included a modest amount for potential increases due to market condition. Unfortunately, the market for chassis is so competitive that the contingency was not sufficient to secure an ambulance within that estimate. The current cost proposal for the ambulance is $482,068, which is $7,068 more than authorized. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $8,892.22 from 3500-599000 to General Capital Reserve Other Financing Uses to 3550-499000 Fire Department Vehicles Other Financing Sources for the purpose of acquiring an ambulance. Supporting documents provided.
Public Safety and Emergency Management, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Building Commissioner William McDonough regarding the need for funds to purchase a copier for the Inspections Department. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $3,000 from account 124-01000-511000 Protective Inspection Salary and Wages Full to account 124-01000-558330 Protective Inspection Copier. Supporting documents provided.
City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Council on Aging Director Kelly Lee regarding the need to fund the 15% match associated with the Bristol Elder Services Grant. On February 6, 2024, a request was sent to your honorable body to approve the expenditure of the Bristol Elder Services Grant. A requirement of this grant is a 15% match from the city. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $1,933.64 from account 1124-1000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1124-1000-599200 Citywide Transfer to Grant, and further transfer $1,933.64 to account 2338N4-499700 Municipal Distribution. Supporting documents provided.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Park and Forestry Superintendent Derek Corsi regarding the need for overtime funds for the remainder of fiscal year '24 due to the excessive amount of overtime callbacks in response to downed trees. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $7,000 from account 1124-100-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1650100-513000 Park overtime. Supporting documents provided.
Public Works, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Water Courtney Allen regarding the need for funds in several salary accounts. These funds are needed due to changes in the laborer's contract and increased callback overtime and overnight emergency dig safe requests. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $80,600 from account 6100-359000 Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to the following.
Public Works, please.
Thank you. I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the receipt of the Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant from Department of Fire Services in the amount of $12,068.82. The funds will be used to purchase a positive pressure ventilation fan, roadway highway safety equipment, and extrication tools. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body approve expending of such funds and any future grant amendments. Supporting documents provided.
Public Safety and Emergency Management, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Planning and Development Gary Arazian regarding the receipt of a Mass EVIP grant from Mass DEP in the amount of $50,000. The funds will be used for the purchase and installation of a dual-port electric vehicle charging station. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body approve expending of such funds and any future amendments. In addition, I respectfully request your honorable body appropriate $6,950 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to fund 2354 Mass EVIP as a municipal match. This value represents the delta between the Mass EVIP grant amount plus a 10% contingency for any unseen installation-related expenses and the contract.
IT and infrastructure, please.
I respectfully submit a letter regarding the award of the Attleboro Cultural Council fiscal year 24 allocation from the Massachusetts Cultural Council in the amount of $37,900. Please note that there is no matching requirements in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. I hereby request your honorable body approve expending such funds and any future grant amendments supporting documents provided.
City property and claims, please.
I respectfully submit the below list of items that need to be surplus. These items are stored in the Shang Building and are from multiple departments. There was no interest in the listed items from any of the departments. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition.
City property and claims, please.
Thank you. I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $303,533 from general fund undesignated fund balance 1000-359000 to fund 2517 reserve for compensated absence to fund a portion of the general government share of compensation absent liabilities, and to further appropriate $16,868 from Wastewater Enterprise Fund Retained Earning Account 6000-359000 to fund 2517 Reserve for Compensated Absence to fund a portion of the Wastewater Enterprise Fund Compensated Absence liabilities, and to further appropriate $12,377 from 6100-359000 Water Enterprise Fund Retained Earnings to fund 2517 Reserve for Compensated Absence to fund a share of the Water Enterprise Fund Compensated Absence liabilities. Whew.
Public Works, please. Well done.
Thank you. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Christy Clausen to fill the 3-year term of Recreation Director. Term to expire February 2027. Ms. Clausen was offered the position with the City of Attleboro effective February 12, 2024, under a temporary 90-day appointment in accordance with Section 3.3B of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter. Christy has many years of experience with the YMCA, working with kids and adults, and also has executive-level management experience. She is community-focused and has event planning and grant-writing experience. The Attleboro Recreation Department, with its many fields, playgrounds, and public pools, is a central part of the community, and Christy is the right person to ensure the department's continued services. Resume provided.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit to you, your honorable body, the city's capital improvements program for fiscal year 2025 through 2029. We look forward to working with the municipal council in the coming weeks to review the data as submitted. Furthermore, I hereby request your honorable body to hold a public hearing at the appropriate time supporting documents provided.
Finance Committee. And Council Cobus, would you like to call for a public hearing on March 19th?
I do.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration, Mason Lord, regarding the need for funds in the gasoline and diesel accounts for Public Works. After discussions with Superintendent of Public Works, Michael Tyler, it has been determined that due to higher than anticipated usage, there will be a shortfall in these accounts. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $71,000 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to the following.
Public Works, please.
Thank you. I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration, Mason Lord, regarding the opera funding for the replacement of security camera system in Attleboro Public Schools. Included in the school department's capital improvement plan, the CIP, for fiscal years 2025 through 2029, is the replacement of security camera systems in the city's 5 elementary schools and 3 middle schools. The estimated cost is approximately $75,000 per school, $600,000 in the aggregate. According to the school department, the project would entail replacing the entire existing unsupported and obsolete camera system in each school with a new modern technology advanced camera system on par with the system contained in Attleboro High School. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body authorize the city to expend $690,000 of opera funds on the costs associated with the replacement of security camera systems in Attleboro Public Schools, including Hill Roberts Elementary School, Hyman Fine Elementary School, Studley Elementary School, Thatcher Elementary School, Willett Elementary School, Brennan Middle School, Coelho Middle School, and Sutter Middle School. The estimated project cost includes a 15% contingency supporting documents provided.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration Mason Lord regarding the use of ARPA funding for partial funding for the Park Street Sidewalk Project. The Commonwealth has notified the city of its intent to resurface all of Route 118 from the Rehoboth Town Line to Emery Street during the fiscal year 24 paving season. It has been determined that it is most prudent that the city complete the installation of the new sidewalks along this route. Superintendent of Public Works Michael Tyler has submitted a Chapter 90 funding request for approximately half of the scope of this overall project. The request totaled $672,957. This request will allow the project to commence as soon as possible and complete the necessary work prior to the paving by the state. In order to cover the remaining project costs, $677,676. It is recommended that the city ARPA funds be used. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body authorize the city to expend $677,676 of ARPA funds on costs associated with the Park Street Sidewalk Project, supporting documents provided.
Finance Committee, please.
For your information, attached, please find a quarterly budget update from Director of Budget and Administration, Mason Lord. Consistent and informative communication is important to the functioning of government, and we intend to continue submitting these quarterly reports moving forward. These reports will help ensure the council and the public have timely information about the city's revenues and expenditures by which to make informed financial decisions, supporting documents provided.
Thank you. That's an FYI, but we'll also put it into the Finance Committee.
Thank you. As you will recall, last fall the city created a special purpose capital stabilization fund to help us better prepare for significant capital expenditures, both planned and unexpected, related to repairs and maintenance. In support of this vital objective, I committed to seeding the fund with $500,000 of free cash. Since the fund was established, the COA feasibility study was completed, and as you know, it includes a recommendation for the adaptive reuse of the Highland Clubhouse for a new senior center with an estimated cost of $14.4 million. As I continue to work with the finance team to determine the most cost-effective and appropriate way to fund this important community project, I think it prudent and reasonable to offset anticipated expenses by setting aside some free cash funds for initial project planning costs. Accordingly, I request that $1,500,000 be appropriated from account 1-000-359-000, General Fund Balance Undesignated, to Fund 8509, Special Purpose Capital Stabilization Fund.
Finance Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kathleen D. Simone, Mayor.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, are there any other communications?
There are none this evening.
Thank you. And now we will get to finance reports, beginning as always with Council Cobus.
Thank you. Reporting for the Finance Committee, I have 5 pieces of business tonight. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to authorize the school department to pay fiscal year 23 fiscal obligations to NRG totaling $7,492.45.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
The natural gas bill for the bus office.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Begin with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa? Yes. Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds? Oops, excuse me, Ms. Reynolds isn't here. I didn't cross her off my list. Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicia?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, from the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to authorize the school department to pay fiscal year 23 fiscal obligations to Home for Little Wanderers totaling $3,248.08.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
It's just adjusted invoices for snow days added on at the end of the year.
We will have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, from the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to revoke the establishment of Fund 8508 Opioid Settlement Fund. Upon revocation, the accounting office will move all opioid settlement activity into the Special Revenue Fund Opioid Settlement Fund 2519 for all current and future activity.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
Thank you. As people are aware, on December 5th, the governor signed the act that allowed the usage of the opioid settlement funds. And so what this is doing is it's closing our stabilization fund, which is where we were putting the funds, that because we weren't technically allowed to use these funds that were coming in. And so we were putting them in a special stabilization fund until we were authorized to utilize the funds. As of December, we're now authorized to use them. So this is closing that stabilization fund, creating a new fund and transferring those funds over to the new fund. One thing to note, that once we move these funds over, it will no longer require legislative approval to expend these funds, so the mayor will be allowed to spend them on things that are allowed within, in accordance with the settlement. As of right now, I talked to Mason Lord. There's 300,000 or 400,000. There's less than 500,000 in the account, and suggest we approve it.
Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So will we be notified? You know, no.
We will not, no. It would be like if I may, President Delicio, it would be like a normal account, like an energy account for lighting or whatever, where the department head would have the ability to spend out of that account.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, begin with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to authorize the city to expend $104,358.10 of ARPA funds on costs associated with the installation of a new HVAC system at the Capron Nocturnal Building.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
Bless you.
There's a 10% contingency for this, and there was a question during committee about what the time frame was for spending the ARPA funds. And I heard back from Mason Lord on that, and it has to be under contract by December 31st, 2024, and spent by December 31st, 2026. So we have some time. But I encourage everyone to support this.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, begin with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And the final item, for the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to appropriate the expenditure of no more than $350,000 from the Special Education Stabilization Fund 8507 for unexpected special education transportation costs incurred during the current fiscal year.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
And this is a unfunded mandate from the state. It was approved by the school committee unanimously.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, begin with Counselor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the finance committee. I call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Counselor Cobus, Counselor Foa.
The IT and Infrastructure Committee has no business this evening. I call for another committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Lavoy.
Licensing Committee also has no business for this evening, and I too will call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. I believe Councilor Reynolds was already called for a committee meeting.
Did she?
I believe she did,
Okay.
for next week.
All right, perfect.
Vice President Dolan.
Thank you. Reporting for Public Works Committee from the docket of February 20th, 2024. I move to transfer $8,069.75 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Public Works Supplies Safety Signs.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
Excuse me, no, we discussed in committee.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, begin with Counselor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to accept a grant in the amount of $80,000 from the Department of Conservation and Recreation for the management of the George Spatcher Memorial Pool through December 31st, 2025, and approve expending of such funds and any future amendments.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Are there any comments?
Note we discussed in committee.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to transfer $3,000 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Animal Control Holiday Sick Vacation Overtime.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Note we discussed in committee.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to hold a public hearing originally scheduled for March 5th, 2024 to March 19th, 2024 regarding a petition from Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England requesting permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures along and across the following public way: Turner Street, install 2 Joe poles on Turner Street to relocate pole 78 west of pole 177. This is to serve the pump station for the city of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Nope, just moving the public hearing.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to transfer $14,000 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for Capital to account Citywide Transfer to Capital Fund, and to further transfer $14,000 to fund Briggs Pool renovation transfer from general fund.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I'll just be quick. This is the supplement items regarding, the supplement money regarding the fixing the Briggs Pool.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of February 6, 2024, I move to approve the installation and work needed for an RRFB painting of crosswalk and complete the sidewalk to meet ADA compliance at the entrance to Hyman Fine Elementary School. Cross streets are Oak Hill Ave and Lee Street.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Just that I hope my fellow councilors will support this.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Counselor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
And that's all the business I have for the Public Works Committee, and look forward to a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Holmes.
Thank you. Public Safety and Emergency Management has no business this evening. We'll call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. Appointing for Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee for the docket of February 20th, 2024. I move to approve the following reappointments to positions and for terms as indicated.
Second.
You're reading all those names again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm comfortable not waiving the reading on this, where they were all read into the record earlier this evening. Motions in order. Any comments?
No, sir. Well, basically, I think we have a lot of great people here, and I think we're good going forward.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On the docket of February 20th, 2024, move to approve the appointment of Emma Ye of 9 Leroy Street, Attleboro, to fill an expired term of the planning board, term to expire February 2029.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
We just heard from Emma, and she comes with prior planning board experience. I think she'll be a good addition.
Excellent. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to approve the appointment of Terry McFarland of 6 Abbey Lane, Attleboro, to fill a 3-year term on the Sustainability Commission, term to expire February 2027.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
Again, we just discussed Terry, and she'll be a very good appointment.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
On the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to approve the receipt of the Bristol Elder Service Grant in the amount of $10,956 to be used for the outreach worker program at the Council on Aging, and approve expending of such funds and any future grant amendments.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
No, sir, we just discussed this in committee.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
On the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to transfer $5,580 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Police Professional Services.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
No, sir, we discussed that in committee.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That's all we have for Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee. Call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Sawyer.
Thank you, President Delicio. Reporting for Zoning and Land Use Committee. We have several items tonight. The first one from the docket of February 20th, 2024. I move to accept the following instruments identified below, which have all been reviewed and approved by the city solicitor, and fulfill conditions of approval contained in the certificate of vote for the approval of the open space residential development definitive subdivision plan entitled Pike Estates, which was rendered by the planning board on July 12th, 2021, and filed with the city clerk on July 22nd, 2021 specifically.
I will waive the reading of the rest.
Okay. Thank
Is there
you.
a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
These are conditions granted for easements, conservation land, parcels for stormwater basin systems in the city to gain access, and the right to perform corrective maintenance and actions at the city's discretion. And that's what these are all conditions of, and that's what we're approving.
Great. Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, and sorry. From the docket of February 20th, 2024, I move to hold a joint public hearing with the planning board originally scheduled for March 5th, 2024 to March 19th, 2024 to discuss a rezoning petition from John F.D. Jacoby III relating to proposed amendments to ordinance S 17-6.9, table of permitted signs and dimensional regulations of the Attleboro zoning ordinances.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
This was just changing the date with the primary election on the 5th.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following. The layout of Brigham Hill Road as a public way and accept said way and any related drainage, water, and sewer facilities or easements as shown on a plan and profile entitled Road Acceptance Plan Brigham Hill Road.
I'll waive the rest of the reading.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
These are part of the public hearing that we had heard, just these acceptance of the roads in this development.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this will require a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following: to lay out T-Berry Lane as a public way.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This is the same, and this is actually T-Berry Lane Phase 1, so there's another.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote, roll call vote rather. We'll begin with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following: to lay out Pass Farm Road as a public way.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
No, that's just one and the same. These
Okay.
are acceptances.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following: to lay out Jennifer Lee Drive as a public way.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This is the road acceptance for Jennifer Lee Drive.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following: to lay out Ingle Lane as a public way.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This is for that road acceptance.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of December 19th, 2023, I move to approve the following: to lay out T-Berry Lane. This is the second part of T-Berry Lane.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Last road acceptance I have.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That concludes the business of the Zoning and Land Use Committee, and I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Councilor Sawyer. Councilor Waterman.
Yes, thank you. Reporting from the docket of January 2nd, 2024, I would move to strike the following. for both the committee and the Traffic Study Commission to study parking on Bayberry Road, westerly side, from Locust Street to Ridgewood Road.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Just say that the request for this has been rescinded by the people who had the objection, and we discussed it in committee.
All right, thank you. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And that concludes the business of the Transportation and Traffic Committee. And I will call for our next committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares.
Thank you, President Delicio. Reporting for ordinances, elections, and legislative matters. We have one item of business from the docket of February 20th, 2024. I move to approve the recommendation from the Election Commission and Deputy Chief Cook of the Attleboro Police Department for police detail location and assignments for the 2024 calendar year polling locations as follows. Ward 1, Quillo Middle School, 1 officer inside. Ward 2, Studley Elementary School, 1 officer inside, 1 officer outside for traffic control. Ward 3, Attleboro High School, 1 officer inside, 1 officer outside for traffic control. Wards 4 and 5, La Salette Shrine, 2 officers inside, 1 officer outside for traffic control. Ward 6, Elks Lodge, 1 officer inside, ballot pickup, 2 officers for end-of-night ballot pickup.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
Thank you. Yes, we discussed in committee last week. This is a routine request. However, there was a question about what necessitates this piece of business in the ordinances committee, and the reason actually is comes from state law, Mass General Law, Chapter 54, Section 72, entitled "Preservation of Order." Actually requires cities and towns to consult with election officers in the placement of police officers at polling locations. And so this was something new that I learned by speaking with the elections office manager, Sharon Fortune, as well as Police Chief Hagney. And one of the questions also about potential measures down the line for fulfilling overtime for this need. That's already built into the into the budget for elections, so that's something that I've been assured of. And with the increase in police salaries later on this year, that's also been accounted for, so that's good to know as well. So, so that's the background on this piece of information.
Councilor Fuller.
I just wonder why we have limited the officer outside to traffic control.
Yeah, I think that would have been an appropriate question leading, prior to this. Yeah, I think that's at the discretion of the police chief, understanding the traffic flow and the arrival and departure patterns at the polls is what I would suggest, especially when you're looking at where Studley and Attleboro High are and the traffic concerns there, especially at La Salette as well.
President Delicio, I didn't mean to suggest that it wasn't a reasonable thing for the police to do. I just didn't want them to be limited if there were a fight that broke out or something like that.
Yeah, so that's a good point to bring up. Hopefully, we would never see that to begin with, but should we do, they still have all the powers of their vocation as police officers and would be able to act accordingly. Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll have roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business of ordinances, elections, and legislative matters, and I call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Tavares.
There is no business for the special committee on tax abatement.
Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. Special Committee on Classification Compensation, I just have an update if that's okay.
It should be a committee, but I'll...
Okay, well, I was just saying that basically for Human Resources, it's getting closer on the salary survey, and they're thinking in the next few weeks they're going to have some more information for us. Other than that, there's no business for Special Committee on Classification Compensation, and go for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Fuller.
There is no business for the Special Committee on Rules and Procedures. I call for a committee hearing at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. There is no old business. There are two pieces of new business for which I will recognize Councilor Foa first.
I move to create a pedestrian crosswalk at two locations, the intersection of Commerce Street and Tiffany Roads, and approximately 1400 Commerce Street, to assist residents of the residential complexes there to cross southerly traffic thoroughfares.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I would just add that this was a constituent request. There is a sidewalk on one side of Tiffany Road, but not on the other side. So if people want to walk on the sidewalk, as we would want them to, they've got to cross busy intersections. That's the purpose of this.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Just a friendly amendment. It's Commerce Way and Tiffany Street. Okay, additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll refer that to Traffic and Transportation. Actually, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion passes. We'll send that to Traffic and Transportation. And Councilor Waterman, would you like to further refer that to Traffic Study?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. So we'll do that. For the second piece of new business, I would recognize Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. I move the following new business be referred for study and recommendation to request two appointments to the Sturdy Memorial Hospital Board of Managers be approved. Mayor Kathleen DeSimone and Council President James J. Delicio, terms to expire February 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I think, from what I understand, we've always done this, and I think that's going to be two great appointments.
Additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That'll go to Personal Veterans Human Services. That is all the business we have for this evening, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned at 9:33.